When it comes to our thinking patterns and interpretations, most of us like to assume that we're fairly open minded, that we're fairly flexible in our thinking. And yet, the reality is, most of us have quite rigid patterns when it comes to our interpretations, when it comes to the way in which we decipher the world. And one of those patterns is a tendency towards dichotomous thinking. This is a binary approach to the world where we see everything in very black and white terms, all or nothing, good or bad. Now, we don't consciously set out to choose to see the world this way, or at least most of us don't. I mean, ultimately, it reduces our cognitive load when we see things as either one thing or the other, because it means that we don't have to see things from another perspective. We don't have to sit with ambiguity, and we don't have to figure out the grey area. We only see things as black or white. However, that being said, what it results in is a very fixed mindset. There's very little flexibility there, and this can end up in a lot of judgmental thinking, both judgment of the self and judgment of other people. The more we can see that not everything is always as straightforward as it seems, the more we can see things from multiple perspectives, the more open-minded and open-hearted we're going to be. And this is so helpful in the way that we interpret ourselves and the way that we interpret other people. And what it helps us do is separate characters from behaviours. So often when people do something that we're not particularly impressed by, or indeed when we ourselves do something that we think is a little bit underhand or that we're not all that proud of, we assume it has some inherent meaning about who we are, or indeed who the other person is. And the reality is, we all fuck up, we all do things that are out of character, we all behave badly when we're in pain, and it's just about recognizing that this isn't an indication of your character, this isn't an indication of who you are. And the more you can recognize that, the more you can work on the behavior, as opposed to damning yourself as a character or indeed damning somebody else. We're also more likely to be able to spot opportunities and to be able to take risks, to be able to be flexible in our approach to anything, which leads to us being more successful in anything that we undertake. I mean, ultimately, if we're very fixed and rigid in our thinking, then there is only one ever route that we can take in order to get where it is that we want to go. And this can lead to a kind of a success failure mindset, which can be really unbeneficial to us. So when we can recognize that not everything is two extremes, not everything is all or nothing, that we can be somewhere along the spectrum, then we are a lot more compassionate with ourselves and life becomes a lot easier. Having a more flexible growth mindset is also invaluable when it comes to dealing with problematic control issues or difficulties with ambiguity or uncertainty, which is something that we could all do with a little bit more of at the moment. There's a Buddhist concept I love called the middle way. It's something that I find is applicable in so many areas of life, and it's definitely applicable to the whole concept of moving away from very rigid thinking, seeing things as all or nothing, black or white. And it just helps us see the world, it helps us see other people, and it helps us see ourselves in a more compassionate light. The more we can consider the middle ground, the more we can sit with ambiguity, and the more that we understand that not everything has to be in extremes. If you would like to find out how to become more flexible in your thinking, get in touch with me on the website. It's fundamentals.ie.